Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Opinion Discussion. Now, I haven't been getting any requests lately. Actually, I did get one, though I can't think of a lot of things to put in that category. I can only think of like one thing, but so I thought of something that I could talk about. I'm gonna make it not video game related because I kind of said that I wanted to do something related to video games, movies, TV, music, and YouTube and all that stuff. So, to show a little more variety, I thought of a topic that wasn't video game related, and instead, I'm going to talk about animation and TV because we all watch like cartoons with like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, though I'm not going to say my favorite cartoons of all time. I haven't really decided that yet, and plus I can make that a bigger video, so instead I'm going to rule it down to my favorite adult cartoons. Now you guys might be thinking I'm a bit too young to watch adult cartoons, but it was kind of bound to happen once in our life. Like I bet we've all seen at least one single episode of like The Simpsons or Family Guy, so it's just there's a whole lot out there with like animes and just Adult Swim and such. I mean, man, I bet every single person in my high school has watched Rick and Morty, so if they can watch that, then I feel like I feel okay to talk about these shows with you. But still, if you're young, please wait later until you're around my age, which is like high schoolish, to watch these shows, because some of them, they're adult shows for a reason, so just wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, anyway, on to the list. The first show that I want to talk about actually came out about a year ago on Netflix called Big Mouth. Now, this show I really call hit and miss. Like, I can't really like it, and I can't hate it. But I'll tell you why after I say the story. So, there are these kids, and they're in middle school, they're friends, and they're kind of going through puberty and all that kind of gross body stuff and those weird feelings. And then usually their kind of desires and needs to sometimes do these kind of gross stuff is always controlled by this monster. And usually the monster's there to say what's going on, what they should do, and they just kind of like they're the ones that make like the dirty jokes and tell them to do gross stuff. And that's basically it. They just kind of experience grown-up stuff in their life that's almost like bound to happen to them as they grow older. One thing I don't like about the show is that it goes way too far with like the gross out humor. Like the animators aren't afraid to draw private parts, and it gets kind of uncomfortable. Like it's obvious in the first episode that once you see that, you're in for a treat. But there are some stuff that is actually really funny. Like I think the hormone monster is pretty entertaining. Coach Steve pretty much comes up with all the funniest stuff, and then I also like the ghost of Duke Ellington because they like when they want to make jokes about like dead celebrities, they appear as ghosts. So there's like Prince and Freddie Mercury and all those characters, and it's funny how the characters actually talk to the ghosts like normal people. And there is some funny stuff, but yeah, there are some stuff that go too far, like this other gross stuff that kind of made me say that I feel uncomfortable watching it. But then, like, a minute afterwards, there's something funny that makes me laugh. So it's like I'm in like this mid area where I can't hate it and I can't like really like it. So, and like with the warning at the beginning of the video, this is the most mature show on my list. So, really wait till you're a little older to see this show. But I think you'll find a few things funny in it, aside from all the gross stuff. So, yeah, I'll just say I kind of like it, and just don't know when season 2 comes out. I'm kind of curious. The next show I want to talk about is a show that recently came out, and it's called Disenchantment. Yeah, I know it's another Netflix show, but I was kind of excited to see this show because if it looks really familiar, it's made by Matt Groening, who created The Simpsons and Futurama, and this is almost like his attempt at making a show about the past. And Disenchantment is a bit repetitive and cliche, but then they do stuff that isn't cliche and kind of different, which is why I find it better than just mediocre or a disappointment. But basically, in the story, there's a princess named Bean who's in Dreamland. It's called Dreamland, not what Kirby's from, but she doesn't want to be a princess. She wants to instead get drunk, do drugs, kind of do mature things that aren't really royal. And she's always making like her father upset, and she just like wants to be free, but her father won't let her. And then we meet Elfo, who, even though he lives in a happy elf world, he wants to go to the real world and experience how miserable it is, but he's always happy and joyful throughout, and he's one of my favorite characters because whenever Bean is sad, he's always there to make her happy, and him trying to do grown-up stuff is pretty funny. Oh yeah, and Bean is gonna get married to this guy who, of course, she doesn't want to hook up with, and one of her wedding gifts is a little personal demon named Lucy, and he's maybe my favorite character in the show because not only does he kind of look like Mr. Game & Watch, but he's always there to tell her do bad stuff, and he does bad stuff to her. He's basically just like doing bad things and enjoying it, and he's just really funny. And like I said, he and Elfo are like my favorite characters of the show, and they basically just go around, do dangerous stuff, and sometimes help Bean's father. And yeah, so it's better than mediocre in my opinion. It's not great, but it's not mediocre. Like, if you're curious about the show, I say watch it. Like, I feel like it's separated from The Simpsons, where it's not a sitcom and it tries to be its own thing, which I really appreciate it for. And going back to the cliches, like, they could do a lot of cliche things, like princess doesn't want to get married, she wants to go her own way, and then they add some new cliches that I didn't expect. Like, I won't spoil it here, but in the second to last episode, there's a choice that one of our characters has to make, and I'm glad they didn't take the cliched route. They kind of made it different, and I really appreciated that. So, like I said, if you're curious, I say watch it. It's pretty enjoyable. So, yeah, Disenchantment, I like it. I find it better than what everyone is saying. This show, I just started watching, and the more episodes I watched, the more I really liked it, and that show is The Critic. Now, you probably have never heard about this show, and that's because it was short-lived. It's more infamous about how it went from network to network to network and just couldn't find a home, and it got canceled after 20 episodes, which is sad because I actually really like this show, maybe because it's just about movie references all the time. So it stars this guy named Jay Sherman, who of course is a movie critic, and he's almost like Siskel and Ebert, and he's kind of a movie critic, and it's basically him living through life, like experiencing with his friends, his son, this lady he meets, and the people he work with, and they just kind of do random stuff, and it's basically him living his life, and it's mostly like him trying to be himself, and not a lot of people like him. Like, he's not a jerk, it's just he's kind of like a misfit, and it's basically a down-to-earth show, and all the movie jokes are kind of fast-paced, almost like a cutaway gag, so it's almost like Family Guy. So if you like the Family Guy-ish humor with the more movie-related stuff, I think this show's for you. And I think what makes me really like this show is the main character. For some reason, I kind of feel like him. Like, he and I feel like are like really similar in a ways. Like, I don't know if it's our passion for movies or how we are or something, but I just really like this main character, just like how he acts and just the stuff he does. And I think that's what makes me really like The Critic, aside from all the movie jokes. And yeah, with this show, it's TV-14, so it doesn't go too far and it doesn't go too light, which is, I think it's the kind of adult humor I like, where it doesn't go too far and it doesn't go too light. So I think The Critic was really up my alley, and I really like this show. So strangely enough, all the episodes are on YouTube, so I suggest you should watch them if you like movie jokes, and if you kind of like The Simpsons with more movie-related humor. I suggest you watch this. It's a great show. Okay, now, I'm gonna admit something. I don't watch a lot of animes. Like, I grew up with Pokemon, but it was just that because it's Pokemon. Though, I saw this one being talked about a lot on the internet, so I decided to check it out, and the more I think about this show, the more I really like this show. And I know it's another Netflix show, but I just love it so much, and that show is Agretsuko. Now, if it looks really familiar, it's made by Sanrio, who's behind Hello Kitty, though this show is not for kids. Though, it's not like gross out humor, it's very down to earth, and I'll say why. So, we meet this red panda named Retsuko, and she works at an office job, though usually her boss and some of her coworkers are either being mean to her or annoying her, and whenever she needs to blow steam from people angering her, she likes to relieve stress by singing music, though it's heavy metal. And whenever she sings heavy metal, it's like this man voice singing it, though you get really used to it and find it more funny than just weird and out of nowhere. And you kind of really feel for for Retsuko, because sometimes she's kind of all miserable because she keeps getting piles of work, and even though when her friends try to make her happy, sometimes it's not enough, and it's kind of like her living through life, like meeting old friends, trying new stuff, making new friends, and I think that's what makes me really like this show. It's not only funny, but it's just really down to earth and really relatable, like kind of her trying to bond with everyone at her work, and there's also some kind of like love triangle near the end of the season. And man, the more I talk about it, the more I kind of want to watch the show again. It's just so great because I think it goes down to all the characters. Like her two friends, Haida and Feniko, are enjoyable. Some of her coworkers are pretty, like they have their own kind of personality, and then her kind of other friends that she meets, and then it's hard that because there hasn't been a single character I really hated in the show. Okay, maybe one, but all the characters I actually really enjoy in the show, and it's just really funny. And I suggest you, if you like slow, down to earth stuff, just watch this show. That's basically all I can say right now. It's great. It's on Netflix. If you love animes, just go watch this. It's freaking great. And for the last show on my list, you guys know it's all coming. It's South Park. It's so hard for me to hate this show. I just really like this show and all the episodes I've seen, and I just love this show. Though I will admit I haven't seen any of the recent episodes. Like I've mostly seen episodes from like season 10 backwards. Haven't seen any of the newer stuff, or usually my stepbrothers love South Park, so if they're watching it, I'll sometimes come in and watch it. But it's weird, like, usually South Park is known for going over the top, though my favorite episodes are like the more tame episodes where the least immature stuff happens. And I know I said I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff, though there are some episodes that do gross things that I kind of like, and it's hard to say what my favorite episode is. I have like 20 that I can't decide, or something like that. And again, I think with the Gretsuko, what I like more isn't the humor, but it's the characters. I just love all these characters because there's Cartman, Stan, Kenny, Randy. Butters is my all-time favorite South Park character because I just love how innocent he is, and sometimes he'll do bad things, which is awesome. So, like, I've seen a lot of episodes. I've seen the South Park movie, and I find it great, and it's just really great. And I hear the episodes are still as good as ever, so it's not like The Simpsons where they kind of hit a low and then they're like in this mid area. Like, people still say South Park is great, which makes me happy because I really like South Park. And yeah, it's weird. That's all I can say because you guys all know I like South Park. No surprise. Yeah, that's basically all I can say. It's just I love South Park, and yeah. And that's it on my list for my favorite adult cartoons. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing for more content from me. Also, don't forget to put a request for a topic you'd want me to give my opinion about in the comments, because like I said, I've only gotten one request and I don't think it's eligible for me. Like, I can't think of any, like, only one thing I can think of, and that's not enough for a video. So if you can think of a topic, put it down in the comments if it's related to video games, movies, TV, animation, YouTube, music, that kind of stuff. I'd love to do this because I'm going to try to make this a whole at least once a week thing so I'm kind of consistent because I find this really fun to do. And plus, it gets me away from the school struggles since I'm at school now. So, yeah, so if you wouldn't mind commenting, I'd love to make up a list about that and talk about it. So, yeah, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.